Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Weekly Reel podcast. My name is Jeremy.
And my name is Ken.
In this episode of the Weekly Reel, we'll be talking about the movie Police Story. But before that, this past Friday, unfortunately, the actor Chadwick Boseman, who played Jackie Robinson, Black Panther, unfortunately passed away from colon cancer. And we just kind of wanted to take this time to briefly mention him and kind of honor him. So, Ken, did you have any experiences or any thoughts on Chadwick Boseman?
Yeah, you know what? First of all, it was just a gut punch. I heard the news through my friend. I got a text. He's like, "Hey, did you hear about Chadwick Boseman?" I was like, "No. Well, what happened?" He's like, "Dude, he passed away." And I was just like in disbelief. Like the first thing I did was check to see if it was some sort of hoax, and I just checked my Twitter account, and sure enough, it just went through the wire. Probably maybe 5 minutes before that. And so it was just, man, I was stunned for like a good hour or two. And so for me, with Chadwick Boseman, I mainly knew him as T'Challa, King T'Challa, aka Black Panther. And man, after that, I decided that I just needed to do a kind of a mini Chadwick Boseman kind of marathon to just honor his legacy and the fact that he just played these the important roles. And actually I wanted to add one to your opener. He did play Thurgood Marshall as well. So I'll get into like more of my thoughts on Chadwick Boseman in our podcast ritual. So yeah.
For sure, man. Yeah. Well, right now I'm actually like you can't tell because this isn't video, but I'm actually wearing a Black Panther T-shirt,
He
which was
is.
kind of on accident. Yeah, I didn't actually pick it out, but it's like it's just a coincidence that I wore it today, and I think it's just fitting. And yeah, when I heard about it, I same thing happened. Like I thought it was a hoax. I thought it was, the internet's a crazy place, and I thought it was a hoax. So I couldn't believe it. And unfortunately, it's real. And um, yeah, I mainly knew him from Black Panther as well. He played the role perfectly. And I remember, this is a quick fact. I remember because I remember back in high school, watching 42, Jackie Robinson, and he was awesome in that movie. And I remember when he got casted as T'Challa, Black Panther. I actually did a YouTube video announcing him as Black Panther. So if you actually go on my channel, then that was kind of like my first public talking of Chadwick Boseman. So I thought it's kind of cool how he was always like there, in whatever like great role that he was a part of. So I think we just wanted to take this time real quick to talk about him a bit and just remember all the awesome roles he had and um, such a great artist and actor.
Yeah, I actually, you mentioned your YouTube. I remember when you did kind of move some stuff around with your YouTube channel. I was actually scrolling through some of your uh, earlier work, and I actually do remember scrolling and seeing that video in your on your channel. So I'm kind of glad that you mentioned that. And so it's on Jeremy's channel from what 2000 and
But
man.
Civil War came out 2016, so they probably announced 2015,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sounds about right. You were still in high school, right?
I think I just finished high school. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, like Ken said, he did watch some Chadwick Boseman movies, and um, Chadwick Boseman, even though like he kept this his colon cancer out of the public, he did continue to keep making movies, doing what he loves, and will continue to watch his movies and enjoy those movies in the future.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty crazy that a lot of the movies, especially when he gained the most notoriety, starting with Captain America: Civil War, going into Black Panther, and then obviously the two Avengers movies after. It's pretty crazy with that and 21 Bridges. He did all of this work, and he already had the cancer because they said that he was fighting it starting in 2016, right?
Yeah, he was diagnosed 2016 and kept working, kept fighting from there.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, and you could tell that he he lived his life the way he wanted it, even if he wasn't feeling well on a particular day. Yeah, I remember there was reports of just people just making fun of his appearance, which is in hindsight is pretty sad. That we do this as a society, and I'm not like trying to throw rocks on that because we all do that, but it just basically shows everyone basically tells everyone it's like, hey, we need to cool it on just being this judgmental because we really don't know what people are going through, if they're going through some sort of sickness or whatever they're going through, and so we shouldn't be judging.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, to Chadwick Boseman and his family, definitely prayers for all of you. So one notable movie or TV show last weekend was involved Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, right after that happened, I mean, I ended up just doing a quick mini Chadwick Boseman marathon. I was trying to think of like the perfect movie to kind of honor him. I I actually went and watched his kind of his debut within the MCU. Did rewatch Captain America: Civil War, kind of like the origins of the introduction of Black Panther as a superhero within the MCU, and then watch Black Panther right after that. But the movie that I really wanted to highlight was, and Jeremy mentioned this earlier, is 42. I actually never saw it before this past week, and so I thought it was perfect time to watch it because I don't know if you know this, Jeremy, but like the baseball season just got interrupted among so many different things because of COVID-19. Well, in recent years, Jackie Robinson Day is a day where all of baseball wears number 42,
Mm.
and there's like no names. Every player for all the teams will do that, and they have a Jackie Robinson Day on April 15th. But obviously, since the baseball season got delayed so much, they decided to move Jackie Robinson Day on August 28th, which just so happens to be the day that Chadwick Boseman did pass away. And so, for those of you who still haven't seen 42 yet, it's starring Chadwick Boseman and Harrison Ford. It's about the story of how Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier, and I just thought it was just pretty crazy with the timing that that Chadwick Boseman passed away on the revised Jackie Robinson Day when everyone um, did wear number 42 on that day, and he did such an amazing job. You really was rooting for Chadwick Boseman because he played Jackie Robinson in such a noble way. I mean, he just had a sense of humbleness to him. You could feel the pain whenever he was kind of going through all the racial threats, all the name calling and everything. He really played Jackie Robinson so well. Hit they hit it out of the ballpark with that casting, and so I wanted to make sure that I honored Chadwick Boseman on this episode by watching 42 finally. I don't know why I never watched it sooner. So, Jeremy, what was the movie that you wanted to highlight for this week?
Yeah, mine was a bit different, and it was my motivation was from DC fandom happened a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about that a little bit on our last podcast,
Mhm.
and so that made me check out one of Robert Pattinson's movies that I heard was super good, and it's called Good Time.
Oh,
Because I was like, there's this big stereotype, stigma on him that he's the Twilight guy. So I'm like, okay, let's try to break that a little bit. I've seen him in some other stuff that he definitely wasn't the Twilight guy anymore, and I was like, okay, good time. This is another very non Twilight esque role, and it's about basically a bank robbery gone wrong with his brother, and for the whole movie, he's trying to break his brother out of prison, pretty much. Prison or custody, police custody, pretty much. And it's a very tense movie, very suspenseful. I definitely recommend checking it out just based on if you want to break that vision of Robert Pattinson is a shiny vampire.
sparkly, glittery.
Sparkly. Yeah, exactly.
Team Edward in the house.
Were
Team
you
Edward.
though?
I don't know. I watched parts of the first one and the last one I got dragged to, and so I literally spoiled myself by reading all of the Wikipedias on the way to the movie theater. It wasn't bad. It was better than I thought it would be. I thought it would be horrible, but the last one wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I,
Well, I watched the first. I only watched the first Twilight, called Twilight, and it was funny because me and my brother heard about this movie. I'm like, okay, everyone's watching it. Let's go watch it. Just me and you, bro. Let's just go watch it. I don't know what Twilight's about. I think this is 2008 or something.
yeah, something
And
like that.
we got in there, and it's just me and my brother, and it's surrounded by a bunch of like other like crying teenage girls, and we were like, this might not be for us.
That's so good.
So that's my that's my Twilight experience.
I'm glad you shared that. I'm glad you shared that story with everyone and not just with me. I'm hearing this for the first time.
I
So
know. I just remembered it right now. Maybe I pushed it out because after that, we gotta watch The Dark Knight 2008.
yeah, to even it out.
Yep, exactly. I don't talk about it much. It's like I went to go watch Twilight. Just me and my
Wow.
bro. So
Wow.
ah,
I don't know. That screams a what do you call it? A podcast episode, maybe with your brother. we'll do.
yeah,
We'll
we'll
do.
watch the next one. We'll watch the second movie. Continue the saga.
Wow.
But last week we actually talked about Fight Club. We broke rules 1 and 2, and this past Tuesday we ran a poll on our social media. So Ken, do you want to share the poll about Fight Club with everyone?
Yeah. So we ran the poll on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, like what we normally do every Tuesday after a new release. It was which character did you relate to more? The narrator, which was played by Edward Norton, or Tyler Durden, which was played by Brad Pitt. And actually, the results are overwhelmingly in favor of Edward Norton's character. It was basically a 2-to-1 thing. So 67%, of our listening audience, I should say, uh, related with Edward Norton's character, his unnamed character. So,
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Brad Pitt's character, Tyler Durden, he's very much a alpha male, very confident. I think most people aren't that very high level confident type of person because he was basically the extreme.
oh, for sure, for sure. And yeah, I like if I had to vote on that poll, I would definitely pick the narrator as well, Edward Norton, because definitely I would like to be a little bit more like Tyler Durden, but definitely not.
Same here, man. Same here. But yeah, if you want to keep an eye out for the polls every Tuesday, it helps us interact with you. Little fun questions here and there. Also, can make some awesome quizzes on the Instagram stories. I find them really fun, and that's just a good way to keep in touch with us and play some games with us sometimes.
Yeah, that one's on Thursdays. So Tuesdays polls, Thursdays quizzes. Check it out.
Yeah, at Weekly Reel. All right, this week I want to share with Ken one of my favorite movies, and it's actually a foreign film called Police Story. So, Police Story is about a police officer played by Jackie Chan who has to protect a critical witness in order to convict a drug lord. So, spoilers if you're this far into my explanation already. Spoilers for Police Story, go check it out. It's on HBO Max.
Yeah. HBO, please sponsor us.
Yeah, we'll
We're
email you. We'll get in contact with you.
we love your content, as you can tell.
They got some decent movies on there, like Police Story, very high octane, great choreography. But I wanted to share this movie with Ken. Ken hasn't seen this 1985 Jackie Chan movie. So Ken, what were your expectations before watching Police Story?
Well, I have seen several Jackie Chan films. Hadn't seen Police Story prior to this past week. I was expecting a lot of the same that I had seen. A lot of action, a lot of really good fight choreography. And this being a movie in 1985, I was expecting a little bit of 80s cheesiness. But I was expecting a lot of Jackie Chan and just like his infectious smile, his on-screen charisma, and then just his crazy stunts. And so that's pretty much what I was expecting going into it. And I guess I was right.
Yeah, dude, because
Spoiler alert.
Police Story is, I think, a good intro Jackie Chan movie. If I were to if no one has ever seen a Jackie Chan movie before, I would say go watch Police Story. And if you're kind of hesitant on watching a foreign film, there is a dub. So if you're really that desperate, but I would just say go watch Police Story. But Ken, so this you watched it subbed, right?
Yes. So HBO Max does have it subbed in, I think it's Cantonese, right?
I believe so.
I want to say it's Cantonese. It's 50-50. It's either Cantonese or Mandarin, but I want to say it's Cantonese. Obviously, whoever's listening, please correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I watched the subbed version, and yeah, they had subtitles during the movie.
Yeah. So how did you feel about watching a foreign film? Because I know the other episodes that we've done here on the Weekly Reel have all been English movies. So Police Story being the first foreign film. Yeah, how did you feel about that?
Actually, I don't mind it because I mean, I was trying to remember the last movie that I saw that was completely in a foreign language. I couldn't remember what it was. I do remember that I wanted to catch a foreign film. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I was trying to catch Parasite maybe several weeks ago, since it's streaming on Hulu right now, and that was the winner for. I got the Oscar for Best Picture this past year. And so I wanted to I've already wanted to watch that. So watching a movie in a foreign language doesn't deter me. Deter me
Yeah, you got it.
because yeah, it didn't sound right. But normally, like nowadays, I do listen, or I'm sorry, nowadays I watch movies. I watch TV shows. If it's at home, I watch it with the closed captioning on for the most part. And I don't know if it. I think it actually started with Game of Thrones. So does Game of Thrones count because they do speak Dothraki?
That's true, dude. Game of Thrones was definitely a show that I'm like, I think because I started watching that back in high school, I think, and I was like, I at that point I'm like, subtitles suck. I don't like words covering the screen, but I'm like, I can't understand anything these people
Right?
are saying. So I'm like, okay, subtitles on.
Yeah, I think my love for closed captioning or subtitles actually started with Game of Thrones because I mean they do subtitle Dothraki when they do speak that, especially in the first season. But when they're speaking English or in the show, it's the common tongue. I don't understand I can't understand their accents. It's really difficult. And you really you're going to miss stuff if you're not understanding what they're saying because a lot of the story is in their dialogue. And so basically since that, basically almost the last 10 years, I've been watching with a lot of subs. So obviously it's different when you're hearing English versus Cantonese. Yeah, I'm going with Cantonese.
Okay, that's your guess. I might have to look it up later. Hopefully we're not. Hopefully you're right. Don't embarrass us, Ken.
Yeah. Sorry to all the Chinese our Chinese listeners out there.
I know, seriously, our bad. But foreign films have definitely, like, I think, gotten more recognition recently, especially like with Parasite. And who knows, I might even recommend another foreign film in the future called I Saw the Devil. It's a very dark, violent, revenge type film. Another South Korean movie, and
Ooh.
it's definitely not a good time. I mean, like, in terms of happiness and positivity and all that stuff.
I'm intrigued though. I don't need to watch a happy movie all the time. It's only in recent times where with COVID and everything, I just want to feel good about myself every now and then. But I will watch some horror films. I'll watch some torture films. Yeah, I've watched a lot of different ones, so I'm intrigued.
Who knows? I'll put that on the list, as
Yes.
Captain America would say. But overall, what did you think of Police Story?
Oh man, I was hooked immediately only because, well, I mean the Cantonese helped because like when it's a different language that's going on, like, you really got to pay attention, otherwise you're going to be lost from the get-go. And so it was a quick montage in the beginning just to kind of go over some of the characters, especially on the villain side. And so I did like that they just went straight into it. And again, the Cantonese helped in terms of me getting in there. But I was really, really hooked in when that opening action sequence did start. I mean, even before that, I just thought it was funny because, you know, the police, obviously the main one played by Jackie Chan, they're all undercover. And so in the beginning, I was a little lost. I was like, oh no, who's on the bad side? Who's on the good side? And then one thing I noticed right away was, oh, the good people have like this giant like wire in their ear. So I'm like, okay,
Super obvious.
I'm gonna look out for that. And I was like, okay, that's a policeman. That's a policeman. And then, oh, that's a bad guy. That's a bad guy. And so I just thought it was pretty funny that I just thought I'd mention that. And man, the opening action sequence was just pretty crazy, especially since you figured they filmed this around 1984 or early 1985 when it did come out. It's pretty crazy that whole opening action sequence is all practical. There's no CGI. Obviously, there's computers. It wasn't really a thing in 1985, but it was just pretty crazy that the amount of detail that went into just planning all these stunts out, just from the shooting part. Obviously, that's kind of normal, but when it gets to the part where they're in the cars and they're driving downhill through the village and just kind of just wrecking through a lot of things, it was just crazy. And then it just led to another scene, that double decker bus scene. It was just crazy.
Yeah, dude, like when they were driving through, basically it was like slum houses.
Mm-hmm.
And man, it was crazy because it's not just that they're driving through the houses, but there's people like around them and in them, and they kind of have to guess when to jump out of the way.
Yeah,
And
so
I wouldn't imagine that they did this more than one time. I don't think they would set that thing back up. So it's amazing how I'm pretty sure someone got hit when the cars were going down the hill. I wouldn't be surprised.
or at least sideswiped.
Yeah. I think there is a shot that I think you can see someone get sideswiped a little bit.
Yeah, but man, that opening action sequence just got me hooked right away. And then just the rest of the action sequences throughout the movie and the fight choreography. I mean, it's just vintage Jackie Chan. It's literally Jackie Chan in his prime. I mean, the movies that I had seen before were more towards the latter part of his prime. And it was pretty cool to be able to see him like literally just moving so cat-like and quick. Even just like a simple thing, I think we mentioned it earlier on our pre-production meeting, just a simple thing of just jumping over a fence. He makes it just look so effortless. It's crazy, right?
He's like a real life cat
Yeah.
or a
It's
ninja.
yeah, ninja would be a perfect description of Jackie Chan because he just literally hops over it like it's nothing. And then, maybe every now and then he'll use his hands to actually jump over something, but it's just pretty crazy. Also, there's this one pretty cool spot where Selena Fong,
Mm.
that's the girl that he
He
was
was
trying to
trying to
protect.
protect,
Yeah,
yeah, the
as
witness.
the witness. Yeah. So Selena Fong in this one scene, it was the apartment scene, and remember he was tied up. She was tied up, and then he got a tip, but it was really a setup. But
Mhm.
then it started this whole action sequence, and I just thought it was pretty cool. I don't know about you, but I figured it looked it looked really familiar, and I think that they used this sequence as inspiration for Rush Hour 2. Remember in the massage parlor with like the couches and all that stuff?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, maybe they drew inspiration from one of Jackie Chan's older movies, huh?
Yeah. I just thought it looked kind of familiar. I'd have to watch Rush Hour 2 again. It's been a while since I've seen Rush Hour 2, but I just got that whole massage parlor vibe during that film. And obviously it's even quicker because, Jackie Chan's what, at least 15 years younger or whatever it
Yeah,
was.
seriously, yeah, 15 years younger. Shoot, man, I thought he was like 20 years old in this movie, but he was 31, I think.
Yes, yeah, I think it was 31. He was 31. And then the last thing I wanted to mention in terms of like the action sequence, oh, obviously the end sequence was just crazy. The in the mall, like the whole thing. I was really surprised that's again, I'll bring up Selena Fong. I was surprised that she took some bumps.
Dude,
You know what I mean?
yeah, and you can see that it's her, like,
Yeah.
doing these stunts herself, pulling the Jackie Chan herself.
I know that was so nuts, and even like the end credits when they were doing the usual bloopers or whatever, you see her in there, and I was like, oh my goodness, that is pretty savage the way she just took it.
Yeah, dude, like that end, yeah, the mall action sequence is crazy. Just the fact that he jumped onto a moving escalator. I don't think
Oh,
I
I
would
know.
ever want to try that.
Oh, I know. That just screams like you're gonna break your legs, your ankles, or your knees, or all of the above.
Yeah, I can imagine just like slipping and then freaking breaking your front two teeth on like one of those steps, man.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we haven't even mentioned it yet, but then that last stunt where he is just sliding down that pole, and then literally all those light bulbs are like breaking and just like you just flashing or whatever. And then he breaks through like a glass floor too. And
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
like a
crazy.
wooden thing. Yeah, glass floor, everything. Lights, sparks going off, glass breaking. I'm like, how did he survive?
I know that it was just not, I actually did a little bit of research on that scene just because it was so nuts. I don't know if you read this, but on that one stunt where he's going down the pole, going down 6 levels, he suffered second-degree burns on his hands because he underestimated how hot those lights would be,
Mhm.
and then he dislocated his pelvis, and he had a back injury, all on
Yeah.
that one stunt.
That stunt was crazy. Like I've read this Jackie Chan autobiography and he definitely goes into detail with that.
Oh,
It's pretty crazy. I think the book is called Who Am I think it's called
mhm.
Who Am I by Jackie Chan. I read it, totally recommend it. But another thing, if you catch that the beginning of that stunt, before he jumps, he yells. Do you remember that? Like he
Yes.
goes, ah, and then he jumps. So what he actually Jackie Chan explains this on one of the interviews, but basically, he's not going to do this stunt like a million times or anything like that. And he's standing up there on the railing, so scared, just like shaking. And then he just hears like the cameras start rolling and they say action. And so he was like freaked out. So he just like screamed and then jumped.
Oh, just to psych himself up, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my goodness, yeah, I'd probably have to do something crazy like that too.
Dude, that guy's crazy, man. And he's basically broken every bone in his body.
Really? Did he mention that in the book as well?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't like in I think it was I forgot what the movie was called, Armor of God, I think it was.
Mhm.
He almost died because he broke his like skull.
Oh my goodness.
So Jackie Chan is definitely a crazy person, but at the same time, he's such a stunt artist. And
Oh
if there was Oscars for stunts, he would have gotten one a long time ago,
yeah, 30 years ago. At least.
at least.
Oh man. But you know what? I love Police Story. There were some nitpicks that I did have with it. One major one was I was not a fan of May's character at all. May plays Jackie Chan's I guess girlfriend.
Girlfriend, yeah.
And so I just didn't like how they portrayed her as weak and needy. I mean, it may have been like with the times, in the mid 80s or whatever, but watching it in 2020 for the first time, it's pretty obvious. And I was just like, ugh. And then, I mean, the scene that basically highlights that is, remember that one scene where Jackie Chan arrives there and he meets with her, and then he's driving his car, but it doesn't have an e-brake. And then he's like, and then he's
Yeah, I
like,
forgot about that.
yeah, and he's like, oh, can you stay with the car? The e-brake doesn't work. Just hold it. I just need to make a quick phone call. And literally, she just waits for maybe 5 seconds, if that, before she just lets it go because she just wants to either, I don't know, talk to Jackie or just kind of be clingy or needy or whatever. I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
and then the car almost kills them.
yeah, exactly. And I was just like, oh my goodness, that I don't know, that they could have just cut that part out, and I wouldn't. It would have made the movie better, I think.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. If I had to like treat like her role, I think even if you cut it out, wasn't that big of a deal. It was
Mhm.
mostly there for comedic scenes, but so the character of Selena definitely played more of a role than the character of May. So I think you could have cut out the character of May and even like interwove more comedic scenes with Selena and just left May out.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. And there's one more nitpick. There was this one part of Chan Kakui. I think I pronounced that okay. Okay.
Yeah, you did
But,
it. Was good enough.
yeah, yeah. Well, Jackie Chan's character, there was this one part of his character that I didn't quite like, but I'll get into that in a later part of the episode. So, that's just one last nitpick I did have with Police Story. Otherwise, I thought it was entertaining. It was good. It was really good.
Yeah, man. When I first saw Police Story, I like I said last week, I did watch it dubbed, so that was an interesting experience.
Mhm.
So it was this time I actually watched it, subbed like you in the possibly Cantonese version. um, so it was kind of weird, also hearing in the dubbed version that this weird, very strong American accent coming out of Jackie Chan. I thought that
Yeah.
was weird when I first saw it. Um, but like I said earlier, if I wanted to introduce someone to Jackie Chan, I would tell them to watch this movie purely for the choreography and the stunts and the action, uh, like the practical stunts. You can see how much like it hurts, and it really looks like it hurts, man. How much glass is flying around, and I would imagine that so many people got hurt in this movie. And I don't know if they would make a movie like this today, and I'll definitely go into that later. But I definitely enjoy this movie. I do agree with your your nitpicks for sure. Um, but it is a quick watch, and I do actually I don't know how they did that one stunt of Jackie Chan parallel parking. I
Oh,
never figured that out.
that was pretty crazy.
I don't
I
know how they
even
did
got
that in 1985.
I know he even got a good parking from that one random guy.
Yeah. I was like, how did they do that? I never figured it out. I don't think anyone had asked Jackie Chan about that. Oh well.
That's a good question for sure. I wonder if they just cut it like a certain way where they did catch like the car skidding or whatever, and then just kind of I don't know, just try to because they can't do CGI with moving cars like over there. So that is a good question. I'm trying to figure that out now as we speak, as the audience can tell.
Yeah, because I think that was an underrated stunt. I didn't have it like in my favorite stunt, but I just remembered it now, and I figured I'd mention it. Um, but yeah, this movie is full of crazy stunts, and Jackie Chan has come out with like so many movies. So do you actually have a favorite Jackie Chan movie?
I do. Actually, okay, so here's a caveat. I wanted to say The Legend of Drunken Master. That came out in 1994 because from what I remember, that was just nonstop action. I just don't remember certain like key parts of the film, like the storyline. Because it's been decades probably since I've seen it. It's probably the early 2000s was the last time I maybe watched it on like DVD, and I was trying to see if I can watch it and see if I can find it streaming so that it would be like the movie that I watched for the podcast ritual. That was actually going to be the original one that I wanted to think. So that being said, I can't say that in good faith. I will have to take the easy cop out and say Rush Hour, the first one, just because I just love Jackie Chan's chemistry with Chris Tucker. They have really good comedic timing together. That movie has so many quotables. And then even though Jackie Chan was kind of in the latter part of his prime with stunts, I think by the time that aired or filmed, he was 44. So you could tell he was definitely slower in that film, especially when you compare it to Police Story. But the choreography is still on point and entertaining, and so I still got to say Rush Hour for me. How about you?
Well, besides Police Story, because obviously I think this would be my number one, but another close second would be Meals on Wheels. I don't know if you
Oh,
ever heard of it.
I haven't
It's
seen that one.
another, yeah. There's some really fun stunts in there. I think Jackie Chan serves a bunch of food with like on a skateboard, and it's also a lot of cool action. So I feel like that's another movie. It's a another light Jackie Chan movie that I would recommend for people wanting to see all his stunts.
When did that come out?
I want to say early '80s. I don't exactly remember.
So it was before Police Story.
It might have been after, or shoot, Meals on Wheels. Sounds like a food truck. Oh yeah, because they actually do have a food truck called Meals on Wheels. Come on, guys! Movie
Oh, here you go. 1984, right before it.
1984. Yep.
Interesting. Okay, I gotta find that streaming somewhere.
Yeah, and I actually watched that kind of recently. I think it was on Amazon Prime.
Really? Okay, I have Prime.
So yeah, I recommend that movie as well. So Jackie Chan loves his stunts, and I'm sure he prefers everything practical. So man, and nowadays it feels like a lot of action is CG, explosions, cars even. Everyone's like flying through the sky. Like that Black Widow trailer, I'm like, out of all the characters that it's like literally flying through the sky, I wouldn't guess it was Black Widow, but I can't judge the movie yet because it's not out yet. But yeah, so how do you feel about practical action versus CG action?
Well, I'll answer this real quick because I'm always going to prefer practical action over CG action 100 times out of 100. I mean, even the best CG action, especially, nowadays with, modern technology, I feel like the best CG action is when it looks like it's practical. You know what I mean? And I just like it when when CG blurs the lines with practical. They just take elements of the of practical action, and so CG action is cool, but just to add that element of realism just makes it way better for me. So
Yeah, because I think one example of mix of CG and practical was that scene in Avengers Endgame where the two Captain Americas are fighting each other and they fall from like the little bridge that they were on and on some stairs. And I think there were stunt performers actually falling on these foam stairs, but because so much of the background and environment is CG, the weight of the stunts kind of get lost a little bit in the CG.
mhm, I could see
So
that.
so yeah, sometimes they actually do these stunts practically, but sometimes that the line between CG and practical kind of gets lost. Yeah, personally for me, like you can, I do prefer the practical action, but there are times practical action can go really bad. I mean, take a look at Taken 3.
I actually have not, so
Oh,
I
really?
yeah,
Yeah, you don't need to watch it.
I stopped at two.
Yeah, 2 was not even the peak. 1, you just watch 1.
Yeah,
Just the first movie.
one is the best.
Like literally they would film the close up of like one guy doing one punch, like there are 3 different angles of one punch and they would edit that together and it's like it just looks horrible. The editing of it, I don't know the way they filmed it. Sometimes practical action just isn't the way to go, I guess sometimes, especially if like your actor or something can't do stunts.
Yeah. Or if a director can't direct.
Yeah, so Taken 3 is a good example of how not to do action for sure. But Ken, what do you think, man? Can a movie like Police Story be made today?
Oh, definitely. But I mean, with some tweaks here and there. I mean, like when this topic was brought up to me, like I was thinking more of action comedies. I feel like nowadays, especially action comedies like Police Story are kind of few and far between because the action comedies that come out in like 2020 now or in recent years are practically all ensemble casts. Like the Fast series, for example. There's a lot of stunts or whatever that happen, and there's a lot of comedy that happens. Like the chemistry is like entertaining to me, but I mean, there's like so many headliners that are in each of these movies. Them because there's like a million Fast and the Furious movies, but it's rare to see like a action headliner, like a Jackie Chan, like a Chuck Norris, like a Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know what I mean? They
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
do that anymore, and I feel like who was the last one that? What was the last franchise that is like that? I mean, I know what John Wick.
John Wick, yeah.
It's probably, and I
It's
feel
the
like
closest
that's
thing, right?
yeah, because I mean John Wick. I mean that's why I think it's popular because you just got that one main guy and you got a bunch of supporting characters that are either likable or characters that you hate. And I feel like they can take advantage of that a little bit more. Obviously, it takes the right action hero to do that.
Yeah, they
And
definitely
so,
have to have the charisma, and the closest person is like Keanu Reeves with John Wick.
exactly, exactly. How about you?
Um, can a movie like Police Story be made today? I personally, for me, I don't think so. At least not in America. Besides, like John Wick. or something like that, or Extraction, but I don't even know is that considered an American movie. Um, I think because I feel like the liability of hurting your actors is like super high, and I don't think like studios would want to do that in America. Especially you see all the guys in Police Story just throwing their bodies everywhere. The closest movie besides John Wick, Extraction, would be The Raid. It's actually an Indonesian movie. I don't know if you ever seen it, Ken.
I have not.
It's another like crazy, gritty, violent martial arts type movie. Another police crime movie. I recommend it for if you want like crazy action also. But yeah, I don't think so unless it's like The Raid. So yeah, I don't think Police Story can really be. I don't think they can capture that magic today. But if you want to let us know, like on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you can catch us at Weekly Reel. Ken, what's our email again?
One of these days you got to learn it, but
Yeah, I know.
I'm just
Seriously.
kidding. Our email address is weeklyreelpod@gmail.com.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask all of you, who are your favorite action movie stars? Personally, for me, it's no secret. Arnold Schwarzenegger is mine. Ken, do you have one?
I knew you were going in that direction. That's why I didn't want to mention Arnold. Right now, I got to say, my favorite action movie star as of 2020 is an old man, Keanu Reeves.
Ooh, he just turned 56,
I know
man.
John Wick and The Matrix. Just those two franchises alone. So good.
Keanu. Such a good dude, too. So let us know, guys, who your favorite action movie star. And yeah, let's take a quick break. All right, we are back, and in this section of the podcast, we're going to start with some of our weekly reel awards. And our first award is the Happy Hogan Mullet Memorial Award for what has not aged well. So, Ken, what has not aged well in Police Story?
Well, I started talking about it in the nitpick section of when we were talking about my overall thoughts on the film. Again, it's I feel like it's Jackie Chan's character. There's a part of his character that I wasn't too fond of. I feel like Officer Kukui's treatment of May, even though I didn't care for May, I just didn't like how he treated her. Because like I felt like he was a womanizer in this film. Like he would go out of his way to just make her look bad. Like in that one scene when he was taking a shower and he was just like bullshitting or whatever and trying to make
Yeah,
himself sound good or whatever. And it's for a person that he just met, and she's just literally a witness that he's trying to protect. And so I just really did not like how he treated her. Plus that one scene when May was trying to leave Jackie Chan's apartment. Remember when she gets on the scooter or whatever, and like she's trying to leave, and then like he's like trying to stop her, and then I don't know, she could have got really hurt or whatever, like twice.
yeah.
That scene was really cringy to me. Really cringy.
Really? I thought it was super funny. Like her shoe like flew off and all that stuff.
Yeah, I was uncomfortable only because I was like, first of all, yeah, I mean, I touched on it earlier. I just didn't care for me as a character, and it was just like, just
I
in the
see.
scene. That's just me, though.
Yeah, there's definitely ways like people can interpret that, and I definitely see your perspective for
Yeah.
sure. But for me, what has not aged well, I actually feel like I was a bit disappointed with the subbed version.
Oh,
I was
okay.
actually hoping that it being subbed, that it felt more real, but it almost felt like a dub,
Sub.
but then it was subbed. Like the audio wasn't right for some reason.
It was a little off. So for those of you who are watching it on HBO Max, you've been warned. But
It,
it's still worth it. I think it's a good film. So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I'm watching it subbed now in its like original language, right? I'm like, this should be better than dubbed, and I just felt like that audio, I guess, didn't age well personally for
It
me.
it had to have been a point where maybe the original audio was so bad and just so low quality that they had to try to I don't know, dub, Cantonese. I'm saying Cantonese again, so that it, just makes it sound a little bit more like hi-fi, high fidelity. So
Yeah, well, who knows? Maybe they'll release another version in the future, in the 40-year anniversary or something. Hopefully.
oh my goodness, we are coming up on 40 years. That's crazy.
And our next award is actually a new award that we just came up with called Get Help. And if you don't remember that, that's when Thor in Thor Ragnarok, him and Loki do get help.
Yeah,
It was just a hilarious scene.
I think it's my favorite scene from Ragnarok, or comedic scene, I should say.
Yeah, he's like, "Come on, let's just do Get Help." I don't know what accent that was. I didn't know if I was trying to do Korg or Thor
Or
or
Loki.
Loki.
It was a mixture of all of them,
Yeah.
and it came out
Anyway,
all wrong.
all of it came wrong. It just turned into like deformed Korg. My bad, guys. But anyway, Get Help. Favorite comedic scene of Police Story. Ken, what's yours?
So my winner of the Get Help Award for favorite comedic scene was it was that one part when Jackie Chan, uh, Officer Kukui, brings home Selena Fong to his apartment. And do you remember that one part where Selena Fong is just kind of like looking around? She ends up finding the that photo of his buddy cop, and she was like, oh, she just basically puts two and two together that this was like that whole scene before that funny scene before that was a hoax in terms of like a kidnapping or
Yeah, like a pretend serial killer in her house or something like that.
yeah. So the part that I like is the part that happens after she realizes that part was all fake. So to set up the scene, she then it's later revealed that she has like that huge tape recorder that looks like as big as a VCR. she she has it in her pocket and she's like recording, and then the adult double entendres. Well, we didn't know it at the time. I was like, oh, that's weird. I wonder where they're going with this. But later on, when they played that audio from the tape, the double entendres were just funny to me. I was cracking up when they played it on the courtroom.
In the
And
court,
then
yeah.
yeah, and the courtroom was hilarious. But then when I watched it the second time, just to make sure that I didn't miss anything, when I watched it last night, it was even better because I knew where they were going. And so I was like watching that original scene where she recorded that scene, and to I don't know, to compare it to like the cactus or whatever, and then the
Yeah.
spilling of the orange juice of what actually happened. I thought it was ingenious and it was hilarious. That was my favorite comedic scene, and that is my winner for the Get Help Award. How about you?
Well, mine is kind of like very close to that also. I almost went with the serial killer one because I remember my first time viewing it. I'm like, this guy's really bad at killing her. And
Yeah.
when they reveal that he's actually a cop just trying to scare her, I
Mhm.
thought that was funny. But my award would have to go to the cake scene with May.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
he's like, right away she gets pissed at him for bringing Selena to his apartment, and she like slams his face into the cake, and for some reason there's like 3 cakes in there.
And they're all really thick.
They're all
Like
thick and creamy.
I mean, like they slammed like the cake right at his face, and it just wouldn't like leave. It was weird.
Yeah, man, I don't know where they got those cakes from. And then he takes a shower because he got cake all over him, And then he comes back, like you said, he was dissing May the whole time while he was showering,
Mhm.
and he got what he deserved with another cake from nowhere. And then, yeah, May just hits him with another cake, and I thought that was super funny because he got hit with cake, showered because he got hit with cake, and then got caked again.
He got what he deserved. That was like, again, I mentioned it before. I didn't like how he traded May, so he got what he deserved.
Yeah, exactly. I think maybe that's why it's like maybe that's why they did that. At least portrayed him like that in that scene. But for our next award, it's the "Does Anyone Want to Get Out" award, and that line was from Captain America: Winter Soldier, when it was honestly the best action sequence of that movie, and so we wanted to name an award after it. So Does Anyone Want to Get Out award? Who do you want to give that to, Ken?
Well, that award, the Does Anyone Want to Get Out award, has to go towards that opening action sequence. I mean, I mentioned it to you earlier. I won't go into too much detail, but it just goes from one crazy scene to the next. We, driving through the slums, and then it goes straight into the double decker bus chase scene. It was just pretty crazy. Actually, I know we're not doing we're not giving out the award for the Marissa Tomei award for what has aged well, but I just thought it was funny from the get go. I noticed that Jackie Chan was wearing Chuck Taylors that entire opening sequence. And for him to go through that entire sequence, especially when he's running downhill with Chuck Taylors, I just thought that that was pretty crazy. It just was the cherry on top with that whole thing because I'm a huge fan of Chuck Taylor's and I know how uncomfortable those things are. And for him to do those stunts wearing Chuck Taylor's, especially getting his shoes dragged while he's like hanging off that bus, it was just pretty crazy. And so all of that whole opening action sequence, I think it might be one of my favorite action sequences of all time now that I've seen it. So
Dude,
um
that's a really good opening sequence. Perfect way to start this type of movie.
I know, exactly, exactly. So definitely hands down it was my favorite. What was your winner?
All right, for me, it would have to be the mall scene at the end, the specifically the department store, when they're fighting, and just when Jackie Chan is having this crazy choreography between like five guys. It's crazy. It's like fast and like normally when you have choreography like that, or not normally, when it's not as good choreography, you could kind of see them swinging to miss. But these guys really look like they're aiming to like actually hit him.
Mhm.
And just for them to also like somewhat break so much glass is freaking crazy in that scene. And like you said, Selena Fong gets in on the action. You have like a motorcycle, like Jackie Chan gets on a motorcycle and drags a guy's butt through a bunch of glass. I think that's my favorite action sequence of the movie.
Yeah, well, there's one action sequence that well, one part of that sequence, I think it was after it actually, like the escalator, like when they're like just doing those like jumps, crazy jumps. I wanted to mention that as well, because for them to land on stairs, or remember when that one dude gets thrown off and then he lands in between the handrails, and that
Yeah.
is such a little target for him to just like land perfectly. I'm like, wow, that was just crazy. I just wanted to mention that just because, well, there's so many scenes. I just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, these stunt guys were like on point the whole movie. And I'm pretty sure like Jackie Chan, this is like his team of stunt performers. Because I think if you go into the behind the scenes, they're wearing shirts that has like JC stunts or something like that.
Yep. Yep.
And these guys definitely like live up to the name of Jackie Chan stunts, man.
Yeah, I wonder how many hours within a day they practice this choreography because dude, it's seamless like with all they do.
I know, that's nuts. Imagine trying to film action sequences like that today with that precise movements. They're like dancers. It's freaking
Pretty
crazy.
much. Pretty much.
But our next award is the Winter Soldier Award, another award that we actually came up for this episode. And, you know, the Winter Soldier, Captain America Winter Soldier, just that movie is probably the best practical action of the MCU, I would have to say. And that's for favorite stunt. So, Ken, who would you give the Winter Soldier Award to?
All right. Well, my Winter Soldier Award winner. Well, I almost gave it to the end stunt, where he's going down the pole. Well, I will mention the triple replay threw me off at first. I was like, wait, what's happening?
Yeah, they really want to reuse that. They want to emphasize how awesome it was.
I know. Well, when I watched this the first time, it was pretty late, and I thought I was going crazy for a second. I was like, wait, what's that? What's happening? I wanted to mention that, but out of all of the stunts, my favorite one is kind of a low-key one. My favorite scene, my favorite stunt was that part when Jackie Chan's chasing down the bus, and he literally, before he does that, he grabs an umbrella and he literally uses the wooden hook at the end, that basically the handle part of the umbrella, to use it to hook onto the back of the bus and literally just climb up on it. And then it leads into this crazy fight sequence. And then he ultimately gets kicked off, and that looked like it hurt too. I've always been a sucker for, random fight sequences where they just use regular everyday things, similar to like, the original Bourne trilogy, when Jason Bourne's using the pen or like the phone book. I just thought that's it's like stuff like that I really do like it, because it makes sense, the hook at the end of the umbrella. It's something that you could use to hook on to the bus. And so that was my favorite stunt of Police Story, and it's my winner of the Winter Soldier Award. How about you?
Well, I actually also have two fun facts for you about the bus scene. The umbrella is actually not wooden, and it's actually one piece.
Oh,
because you know how umbrellas are like in couple pieces, and it's actually just like a long metal rod. So, because if you were to do that with an actual umbrella, Jackie Chan said it would break. So they had a special umbrella made for that scene.
I did not know that. Did he mention that in the book?
I think he might have, but I think I remember him saying it in an interview.
Okay.
But another thing about that scene, when the bus stops and like the guys fly out from the front windshields, they were actually supposed to stop and then fly on top of the car. The car was supposed to be their cushion. Oh my God. And so these guys, if you go back and watch this scene, because of the inertia of the car, right, and how buses, their hydraulics work, obviously they landed in front of Jackie Chan on their head. You can like go back and watch the scene, and they land on their necks, man. And Jackie Chan made sure that he completed the scene, and then right away go help these guys.
Oh my goodness, that is crazy. Didn't they feature that in the end credits?
Yeah, and I also want to mention in the end credits. Did you notice the song?
wait, what song?
Who's singing the end credits song?
Oh, is it Jackie Chan?
Jackie Chan singing his end credits song, man. The theme of Police Story.
Yeah, he was the original Manny Pacquiao. Oh man.
And I just love that theme of Police Story. But personally, my favorite stunt, you mentioned it, sliding down the pole. Because I was almost going to choose the holding on to the bus, because I thought that was a really cool scene. Honestly, there's so many good stunts to choose from. Even just simply jumping over a gate was so cool to watch.
Yeah.
But that stunt, sliding down the light pole, was my favorite. For our next award, it's the Avengers Assemble Award for favorite scene. So, Ken, what was your favorite scene of Police Story?
All right. I feel like we've talked about all these action sequences. I mean, and rightfully so. I mean, dude, Jackie Chan is just he's probably on the Mount Rushmore for action heroes. He's got to be on one of four if there wasn't a Mount Rushmore for that, right?
Yeah, mine would definitely include Arnold and Jackie Chan, at
Yeah, see,
least.
there you go. That's already half the spots already. But for my Avengers Assemble Award for favorite scene, I went with a comedic scene. And so I mean, I really I was like, man, I might want to pick the mall action sequence, but I was like, I wanted to go a different direction. So I picked that one scene. We kind of touched on it earlier when Jackie Chan's police buddy breaks in, quote unquote, and then just tries to scare her with that knife. And then it was just weird because I was just like, okay, what's happening? And like you, I thought he was just horrible at trying to kill her. But then and I was like, oh, and I finally got it that this was like a whole setup orchestrated by Jackie Chan. And that whole thing was just comic gold. It was almost my winner for the Get Help Award. But I wanted to make sure that I highlighted this as my favorite scene because the end when it keeps going and the weird comedic choreography was always on point too, even if it was awkward. But when Selena Fong was hitting the friend over the head, like especially the first time, and he was pretty much knocked out already by that point. And then for Jackie Chan to have to pull a Weekend at Bernie's and hold him up and pretend to still fight, it was just funny to me. I don't know. I'm a sucker for just like dumb scenes like that. And I don't know. That's just my winner of the Avengers Assemble Award in kind of an upset.
Dang, yeah, that is an upset. It's like a very comedic scene, but that's what makes Jackie Chan, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. What was your Avengers Assemble Award winner?
It would have to be the opening sequence. Like you said, man, just the way they open this movie is unlike a lot of movies. Just the way they had the practical action. You don't know what kind of crazy stunts you're going into yet. Like going into the movie, you don't know obviously you expect Jackie Chan, but when the movie starts off with that sequence, you know you're in for a good time. And just for them to end the movie with an equally as good action sequence is just mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, and it was a totally different setting as well. You know, like obviously that opening sequence is all outdoors. And then you're ending with just this crazy fight choreography and and everything that's going on with the end action sequence. Completely different setting with the mall, with all the glass and everything. And you know that 1985 like fake glass or whatever still hurts. I would imagine it's not as it's probably less painful now in 2020 versus in 1985, especially in like maybe in Hong Kong. So I don't know if they would be getting the same, I don't know, the same materials.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like these guys wouldn't be landing on foam pads. Like that's what Jackie Chan always says. Like back in the day, you're not landing on foam pads. You're landing on either cardboard or nothing. Like
Yeah,
you're actually hitting pavement.
yeah. Even in a quote unquote throwaway action scene, remember when they like Selena Fong and Jackie Chan were like leaving in the car, and then they thought that they ran over that baby in the stroller or whatever,
Yep.
and then it triggers that action sequence. Even some of the stunts where they're flying from one car to the other through the windshield or whatever, it was just seamless, and it just looked like it was like Barnum and Bailey Circus or Cirque du Soleil or whatever, but with like fake punches and kicks and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, they were so precise and like I think even at one point Jackie Chan like kicks the door off of the car and later
Yeah,
on they have to drive like with
with
the door on top of
on
the
the
car.
rope. That was so good. Oh man.
But yeah, Police Story has so many like great memorable moments and I'm just super curious, man. We have this segment here, one of our favorite segments on the Weekly Reel, where we guess the Rotten Tomatoes score. And I know this is an older movie, so it's probably not like there's probably not too many votes, too many reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, but I am still curious. Me and Ken are tied at 4-4, so Ken caught up, and
Yes.
today we plan on breaking that tie. So, Ken, are you? Wait, do I look it up first? I forgot.
No, you look it up after you.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, Ken. I'm going crazy over here now, guys. But yeah, Ken, what's your guess for the Rotten Tomatoes score?
Well, and we'll mention it again for those of you who are checking out our podcast for the very first time. These are scores that we come up with beforehand. Like I have mine written down. Jeremy has his written down, and we both haven't looked at the actual Rotten Tomato score. So I'm looking at my notes right now. My guess on a scale of 1 to 100 for Rotten Tomatoes, I think they gave it a 76.
76. Okay. Okay, we have a little bit of a difference this time. I gave mine, or I guess the 85%.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you guess 76.
Yes.
And we're gonna look it up live right now, so no cheating or anything like that. If I can spell right.
That would help.
Okay, internet, keep going. Well, with a tomato meter of 93%,
Whoa!
I guess I got the point.
I was way off.
What? I'm still curious. Did we guess the language right?
You gonna look that
I'm
up now
still
too?
wondering. Yeah, I'm gonna correct this right now before we end this.
And so while he's doing that, yeah, that updates the score. Jeremy's now winning 5-4 going into next week.
Yep, winning 5-4. Cantonese, you are correct.
Ah,
All right.
vindicated. That should be worth a point. No, I'm just kidding.
Almost, Ken. Almost. But yep, I'm up 5-4. I finally scored again, guys. Shoot.
I had my 2 week actually my 2 episode streak snapped. And so we're gonna have to start another streak next week. So you gotta tune in next week to find out.
Yep. And for our final award is the I Love You 3000 award. When me and Ken rate the movie, 1 out of 3,000. So Ken, what was your score?
All right. Well, I gave Police Story a rating of 2,364 out of 3,000. That loosely translates to about 78.8%. That's actually a really good score in my rating, my 3,000. I love you 3,000 rating scale. I loved everything or most things about the film. I think the nitpicks just took away from my enjoyment just a little too much. And I think if this gets remade for 2020, I feel like they could clean it up and this could be close to the perfect action film. But obviously they have to find the right action star to pull a Jackie Chan in. That's going to be some huge shoes to fill. So, but yeah, I gave that a 2,364. How about you?
For me, I gave it a 2715. So, there's a big disparity between us, but that's that's just film, it's very subjective. That translates to around like 90%. And that just shows, that movies can hit us in different ways when they view them and how we perceive movies. So yeah, I gave it a 90%.
Yeah, well, you were closer. Well, your rating was closer to the Rotten Tomato score, so that sounds about right. I feel like when I'm close with my rating to the Rotten Tomato score, that's usually when I win. So
That's
I don't know.
true.
This week wasn't my week.
It's all good. Next week, maybe. What is next weekend, by the way?
Oh, perfect segue. Well, next week is another MCU week. And so we are jumping back into the Infinity Saga rewatch. Next week, we will be finishing up phase 1 of the MCU and doing deep dives on Thor, Captain America, the First Avenger, and the Avengers, which came out in 2012. And so I know we both had a good time discussing the first 3 films within the Infinity Saga of the MCU. And it's going to be fun to just jump right back in with the next 3 films and finishing phase 1.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to these 3 movies. I think this is where they find a little bit more of their footing, for sure, in the MCU. I'm totally excited to watch these movies again, because I don't feel like I don't think I've watched the first Thor in a long time.
Yes, same. I think the other 2 I've watched fairly recently. The first Captain America and the first Avengers.
So yeah, definitely be looking forward to that, guys. Ken, where can they find you if they want to follow you on the social medias?
Well, on the interwebs, you can find me both on Twitter and Instagram at FreeKenA. That is at free_Ken_A. Where can they find you, Jeremy?
I believe you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at JP_flicks. And if you want to follow me on my YouTube as well, or subscribe to my YouTube channel, Jeremy Pullen Barrett, movie reviews are there. Definitely keep up to date with me there. So Ken, I'm totally excited for next week. Hopefully it's better than Iron Man 2 and Hulk. But
Yeah.
everyone will have to wait for next week,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Oh, well, there's going to be a lot to talk about, and so I'm sure we're going to come up with some fun topics to debate, maybe laugh. They'll probably laugh, but yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to jumping right back into the MCU.
So yeah, stay tuned in next week on the next set of MCU movies: Thor, Captain America: The First Avenger, and The Avengers 2012. I'm totally looking forward to that. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time on The Real.